Hi, welcome to another video. Thanks for tuning in today. Thank you if you subscribed to the videos and liked any videos over the past few weeks and months. It means a lot and is much appreciated. I'm hoping to film and release a video each week if I'm able to, so don't hold me to that, but I seem to be able to do it at the moment. So I'll try and upload over the weekend, so either a Saturday or a Sunday evening each week at a minimum, but this will depend on other commitments going on during the week. So over the past year, I've been building Denton Lane, which is a depiction of a wagon repair depot, sort of loosely based on something that you'll find at Tees Yard up in the north. It's been a really good build. I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot of skills and a lot of lessons during the build, and the layout is now at a point where most of the major elements are complete, sort of scenery wise, electrics wise, etc. So it feels like the right time to sort of move on to another project. That's not to say that the videos for Denton Lane will sort of disappear. I'm hoping to film a sort of final layout update video over the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure that there will be some more running sessions too, because these seem to be quite popular. So I'll try and get some different stock out and put together a video of a running session for Denton Lane. But as I said, it feels like the right time to move on to a new project. With it being a new year, I like to try and build a layout a year if I'm able to sort of take on board the things that I've learned from building the previous layout, maybe some of the limitations that I've come across, and looking ahead to this new year of the projects that I'd like to sort of complete modelling wise. So the new layout is ready. I guess it's already started. The baseboards are here, and I'm quite fortunate that I have the space to have both Denton Lane and this new project sort of side by side in the space that I have. So Denton Lane's not going anywhere. It's not up for sale yet. As tempting as it is to sell the layout, I've become quite fond of it. So it's nice just to have something to play trains with, I guess, in the classical sense. So Denton Lane's not going anywhere for now. As with most people, we always have ideas for new layouts floating around in our heads. And I am no different, really. It's very easy to look over YouTube or look over Flickr, which I do regularly, to sort of discover new ideas and new layout ideas. And one idea that I had late last year was to build a model of Peterborough TMD. So what I mean is the EWS depot area, which, if you know Peterborough in any way, shape or form, you'll know that to the north of the station there's a maintenance facility that is not so much used a lot these days, but back in sort of the 90s was quite an active TMD. You'd usually find handfuls of 56s, 37s, 47s, etc. on the depot at weekends and during the week. So I've had that idea in my head for quite a long time, and being from Peterborough originally, I have lots of memories of viewing those locos at that point. And so I tried to come up with a plan to sort of incorporate that sort of area in the space that I had and the baseboards that I had. And whilst I could do it, the plan just wasn't coming together. It didn't feel as conducive to the space. The operational interest was limiting, and the scenic side of things was slightly limiting as well. I guess in some ways I was trying to cram too much stuff into one area, and it just didn't look or feel right. So as much as I would like to do that, I've come up with a different plan. One of the mistakes that I made when building Denton Lane was to try and cram as much track in as I possibly could into the space that I had, and I was compromising on the scenic side of things. And whilst I don't think it looks bad necessarily, it didn't feel right when I was coming up with this plan for Peterborough. I was trying to cram so much track in to make it as prototypical to the real setting as possible. And whilst, as you'll become to realise soon, the boards are 20 inches wide, which is quite a big space really, but it just felt too cramped and it didn't look good, and I felt that the operational interest would be limiting. And so after a bit of reflection, I had to go and just park that idea for now, that idea of trying to replicate that TMD area in that way. And if I can now, I'll put a photo on the screen of the plan that was put together to demonstrate that TMD area. So having reflected on it a little bit and thought about some other ideas, I'm very grateful to Richard at St Michael's Hill. We're always in discussions about stuff and I really value his friendship. And we were chatting about layout plans, and I just was in a bit of a rut, I guess, with coming up with something. And he went away and put together a sort of new plan for me for the space that I had. I guess I'm not very creative in some ways, unless it's a real place. And so I'm really thankful for him going away and coming up with a sort of revised plan for the space that I had. And again, this will be on the screen now so that you can have a look. And this is the plan that we've kind of come up with using the space available. And yes, it's not based on Peterborough TMD, but operationally and scenically, it will be a lot more interesting, and there's less track, but it's more that the scenery is kind of built around the track. It's not just that you've got dozens and dozens of pieces of track and points and great, that looks great, but actually it won't look great because it'll just be too crammed in, and it's not an authentic reflection of actually how the railway is. So just whilst we're here now, thank you so much for persevering. I know this is a little bit of a different style of video than I normally would do, but I think it's really helpful at the start of a project to sort of explain the foundations of the project and where I've come from in terms of the planning and the thinking behind it. So please persevere. We'll have a look at what I've done so far in a little bit. But just jumping back in slightly, we kind of came to this plan, which was a lot more minimalist than what we'd come up with before. It looked a lot better. And so I've been away just collecting points and track on eBay at the moment, just because of the shortage of Peco. So I've just been quietly setting saved searches on eBay and collecting the relevant points and track that I was going to use. And that's kind of been coming on stream over the past couple of months, ready to sort of lay out this plan on the boards to see what it looks like. So here's the track plan on the screen now. It gives a better feel for what we're going for. So at the bottom right hand corner, you've got a curved point there leading into a medium left hand electro frog. and then into a right-hand medium electro frog. So the siding or the head shunt, if you like, right at the bottom of the plan, I've removed that just to give a bit more space, to create a nice scene, maybe a car park scene or something in that bottom left-hand corner. That's just one of the examples of laying it out on the baseboard and sort of seeing how things work, and it just looked a little bit too cluttered, and operationally it didn't really seem to offer anything. So you've got the two lines going into the shed. In reality, there'll be one line into the TMD building, and then one line to the side of it, maybe like a fueling road or something along those lines. Then you've kind of got the cord that goes up into the top left head shunt, and then a couple of points there coming off that into what looks like another building. I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. Maybe an open area with a sort of overhead crane for the maintenance of wagons or dropping power units out of locos. I don't know. And then you've got the line that goes off scene into the filler yard. So you've got two entry and exit points for this layout over the 20 inches wide board. So where the TMD building is will probably be the cliche hard standing area, alongside on the other side with the other point and head shunt. I'm still deciding what that'll be, as I mentioned before, maybe like a sort of concrete pad with an overhead crane, something along those lines. And then you've got the buildings at the back. Again, I'd like to try and use some less sort of low relief buildings and some more I'd say 3D, but hopefully you'll understand what I mean. And then to the front of the layout, maybe like a nice embankment that sort of overlooks the TMD area and those sidings, just so it's not all a flat earth society. I think that's one of the things that I regret on Denton Lane. It just feels a little bit like there's not a lot of scenery, and obviously with Denton Lane it's a yard, so generally it's quite flat anyway, but I'd like to kind of take the scenics up a little bit of a level and maybe add a nice embankment at the front, as I said, that overlooks the scene. The track work that I would like to use on this layout, when I built Lynchwood sidings, which was like the first layout that I built after kind of coming back to the hobby seriously, I used the Peco Bullhead range of track, and that's what I've decided to use again in this instance, combined with the Peco Code 75 points, the Electro Frog points. I think the Bullhead track, it just looks amazing when you've laid it out and you kind of, you have the locos set on it. It just, of course it's not going to be at the standards of P4 or EM, but sort of for my for what I want to go for, I'm quite happy to mingle it with the Code 75 points, and I think they look okay once they've been ballasted. So I'll be using Peco Bullhead track, Code 75 points, Electro Frog, obviously, alongside the Cobalt IP digital point motors, and so they'll be operated via an accessory, via an NC power cab eventually, rather than going via the IP analog Cobalt point motors, which is what I had on Denton Lane. So as I mentioned before, I've just been sort of collecting the points and the Bullhead track, and you'll see on the screen now I've just kind of been laying out the track plan roughly. This track isn't pinned down or connected or anything like that. It's just to kind of get a feel for how the stock will look, and I guess the operational side of things as well. I think, again, learning lessons from before, I need to take my time over ensuring that locos fit where they should. The head shunts are long enough to accommodate the size or the quantity of locos that I'd like, to think about the movements that will take place on the layout from an exhibition perspective. This is all quite ancillary stuff, but the mistake that I've made in the past is that I get to the point of ballasting, or maybe even further down the line, and then I realised, oh gosh, that siding is too short to fit X number of VJ vans, or that head shunt won't take a class 60 because it's 2 mil longer than a 56. I'm sure you all have come across these issues before, and I'm sure there'll be issues that I have on this layout, but I just want to take my time to be a bit more meticulous about planning, particularly with the scenics as well. I want to try and build some of the buildings prior to really finalising the track plan, so that they all have a sort of place on the layout. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to build every single building to suit the plan, but just to have an idea of where things are going, where the scenery is going to sort of come in and out, and as I've mentioned, operationally, to really understand how the layout will work in an exhibition setting particularly. So in line with my desire to build a sort of depot TMD, that cliche exhibition layout that you see up and down the country, I wanted to build a depot layout. I built a wagon repair depot layout. Naturally, it just felt right to move into to this sort of layout plan. So on the screen now, you'll see a photo of the track plan as it sort of stands. I would say that the inspiration for this layout now is more coming from the angle of Newport and Godfrey Road depot. That's sort of what's inspiring me at the moment. So just to run down some of the main specs for this layout, it's again on Tim Horn baseboards, 2 3-foot by 20 inches baseboards, so really wide baseboards, which is such a blessing actually. It's amazing to go from 1 foot to just to 20 inches. It's just there's so much more space. But as I've mentioned already, the temptation has been to fill it with track, and it just doesn't feel right to do this, and therefore the plan reflects that. So it feels a bit open. There's plenty of area for scenics and to kind of have a few more 3D buildings on there rather than lots of low relief buildings. So hopefully this photo here will show some of the progress in showing the track plan so far. Once again, I hope this video is not too boring. In the next video, I'll get back onto the layout to show you physically the planning and how that's coming about. But I hope you get a feel for the sort of plan that I'd like to go with, to kind of keep it quite open, to not fill the baseboard with track, but to make room for lots of scenics, lots of small details, and just to generally improve on the mistakes that I made on Denton Lane, and to kind of give it more of an airy feel, and to allow the track work and the railway to sort of flow through the scene, and that's why it's been so helpful to kind of circle back onto Godfrey Road depot and to have a look at photos from the 90s of that depot, and all of the little details that it had, and the way that the tracks weathered, and the signalling arrangement. Again, I'm not trying to replicate Godfrey Road exactly, nowhere near, but it's just a base for that inspiration, and to sort of have something to look at, and to kind of contrast with the layout plan itself. So I hope that I have covered a lot of the elements in this video. I know it's been a little bit of a different style to usual, but I find it helpful to share my thoughts with you. If there's anything that you have seen or that I've said that you think, oh, maybe you should do that differently, or have you thought about this, or maybe adding a point in or some more track work to make it more operationally interesting, then please let me know. You'll notice that the boards don't have any back scenes or backboards on at the moment. This will change. Obviously, it's locked down. We can't really go out, and unnecessarily, rightly so. So I'm kind of waiting for lockdown to unlock, so that I can go and order some wood to do some back scenes. But again, that'll all come in time. I think the Bullhead track's looking really good. Really pleased with that. As I dive into more of the specific planning going forward, I'll discuss plans for the depot area, adding inspection pits and lighting and ground signals and all of this stuff, which I would really like to kind of add in the early stages. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. It's 20 minutes long, which is quite long, so if you've persevered to the end, well done, thank you. I'm really excited to get started on this layout and to continue the research side of things. I think that's so helpful, and for me that's half the fun most of the time, is the research and really getting a feel for the place. So once again, if you are not a subscriber to the channel as of yet, please subscribe and hit the little bell icon, and it will tell you when a video is out. Once again, thanks for watching. Hope you have a good week, and we'll return soon with another video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.